Hello everyone! Welcome again to another tutorial in NPR Maya, your channel to learn all the tricks to easily generate NPR shaders in Maya software. After seeing how to set up the aiToon shader and check some of its parameters, we are going to go more in depth and learn how to tweak the strokes and add textures to create a more stylish look. So, let's get started. If we remember from the first aiToon shader tutorial, in the Edge tab we can edit the appearance of the strokes. On the right hand side of each parameter there are some checkerboard thumbnails, and by using them we are going to see how to make modifications in some parameters. If we go to the width scaling and press with the left mouse button over the checkerboard, we will get a list of what are called nodes, which allow us to make changes to the different parameters. There is a wide variety of nodes available. For instance, we can find texture nodes, shader nodes, or utility nodes that add some extra modifications to the shaders. For the purpose of what we are doing now, let's go to the 2D texture node and add a noise texture. If we pull the render view, we can see our strokes are no longer flat, but have an irregular shape, simulating a more artistic look, because they are influenced by the texture we just added. In the noise attribute, we can see all the parameters that we can edit. By adjusting the threshold, we can make the noise texture less noticeable or more noticeable. If we adjust the amplitude, we can make the stroke thinner or thicker. We can also increase or decrease the ratio, the frequency ratio, and the depth max to create variations. And for instance, make them look more like pencil strokes, as you can see in here. We can also make changes to the parameters time, frequency, implode, and implode center to help us modify the strokes. We can also change the noise type to create variations, and depending on the noise type we choose, we will be able to adjust certain parameters. There is another interesting trick that we can do to the strokes by adding a ramp node to the amplitude parameter. Let's press again the checkerboard, go to the 2D textures, and go down to ramp. We can notice how this texture allows us to make the strokes thinner in one side and thicker in the other side. We can play with the black and white values here. If we see, the black color works like a mask, completely covering the stroke in this area. If we use gray, we will see the stroke partially, and white will let us see the stroke completely. Now that we know how to modify the strokes to make them look more stylish, let's move back to the aiToon shader and go to the Base tab. This time, we are going to click on the checkerboard next to the tone map parameter and add a grid texture. Now, let's apply the same texture to the color parameter in the specular tab. We can also influence how much we see each texture by adjusting the weight in the base and specular tabs. If we observe, in each case, the texture is adapted in different ways to the sphere. For instance, we can change the looking of the texture by going to the Place 2D texture and playing with the other parameters we see in here. In this case, for example, we can repeat the grid several times by going to Repeat UV and have this looking. If we want to adjust any of the parameters where we added a texture, we just need to make sure we are in the aiToon shader and click on the rectangle with an arrow in it. If for any reason we want to remove the texture we added, we need to go to the parameter where we added the texture, press the right mouse button on it, and select Break Connection. And that is all for now in this tutorial. I hope it was helpful for you, and I will see you in the next one.